Right.
Is that where we are?
We're not there, but the Portland area is going that direction. Portland is moving more and more to being, in effect, a single-party island. And this is relatively recent. I don't know that we're moving towards that as a permanent status, simply because the Republicans did so well here 10 to 15 years ago. So I'm not sure that it's a permanent thing. I tend to see it more as waves right now. But Oregon is shifting. The big shift in Oregon, there's been several since World War II. The big change, really the 1982 recession caused a huge change. Ronald Reagan was in office, so that's when we had Reagan Democrats who were really looking out there saying, my social values don't match up with the Democratic Party, there's an alternative for me, the Republican Party looks better. So that began to shift. So we saw that, but the 1982 the recession is important because it also destroyed many of the labor union-centered businesses in rural Oregon. It destroyed the timber industry in many places. Once again, I grew up down in Medford. Coming out of the 1982 recession, the biggest buildings in town, if you ever went through Medford then, Medco had this gigantic thing that you could see from the freeway. Steam came out of it all hours. That's basically now an empty lot. And so the demographics changed partly because the economy forced the end of those labor union businesses in rural Oregon. So it switched rural Oregon to a more Republican face. And remember, Portland was a Republican place. Famously, it's not until 1992, that's the first time the Oregonian ever endorsed a Democrat for president, ever. And so basically, Portland was a reliably Republican place, but then it began to shift, partly with new people coming in, partly with the Ronald Reagan Republicans. People said they're too socially conservative, but now it's the People's Republic of Portland, and that's now spilling over into the areas around it. Washington County, we see that, but where we really see it is Clackamas County. Clackamas County has been reliably social conservative Republican for quite some time, and that reliable social conservative Republican base is now electing Democrats into the legislature, voting for Democrats at all the state levels and national levels and those kinds of things. So I don't know that it's a permanent thing. Remember that what made Tennessee have that split was a little thing called the Civil War, which had a little traumatic effect. We didn't have that, but we're clearly seeing a change. And you know, when candidates come and talk to me, a lot of time they have really thought about why they want to run for office, and that's good. But if they haven't, the first question I always ask them is, if you just be yourself, whoever you are politically, do you match up with the constituency? If you don't, running for office is going to be an interesting civic function, but you're not going to win. So think about that. And in Portland, being a Republican is not a way to win in Portland. It's a lot of times a way to be the third party in Portland. I don't think we're going to see the Republicans have that happen in the next few years out here, but we are going to see that change. Now, when you see big shifts like this, and the shift in Cedar Hills has been going for a while, but there was a big jump, and the big jump clearly this past time was because of the Obama effect. The Democratic Party in the primaries for the presidential election registered 250,000 new Democrats throughout the state. Then they basically didn't work on registration for the general election. That 250,000 new Democrats really changed, for the first time in decades, changed the percentage of Democrats and Republicans in Oregon in a major way. We don't know if those people will continue to vote. We simply don't know. Okay. When I first started doing this, I grew up in Southern Oregon. I went off to school. I came back here in the early 1990s. And at that point, still, the way to tell party in the Portland area was the farther up the hill you lived, the better chance you were of being a Republican. It was just that simple. And by the late 90s, that began to break down. And now we're beginning to see a change happen. But once again, I don't know if it's permanent or just one of those waves.